Hey folks, today I'm going to be doing another TLDR video, this time on the April 9th Hype Week blog post. Most of the stuff we've already seen, so I'm going to try and breeze through that and focus on some of the new things here. As always, if you like this sort of thing, please consider leaving a like on the video. Let me know you want more of these. So yeah, let's jump into it. The first thing we see here is set shattering, set crafting. We've already seen all of this in the previous TLDRs, so if you haven't seen those, check them out. All the info's there. The SUNFORGED Great Helm set. We see increased armor per forged weapon, health regen per forged weapon, and you can also see here there's a sealed T1 vitality, so you have potentially 4 affixes plus a seal here. Moving on, the idle enchanting, we've already seen all the details here. You can see some affixes. This is a hybrid affix, so 2 phys res, increased bleed duration. And we can see another one here, ward decay threshold, damage over time, word per second with that, endurance with the DOT. So yeah, you can see some of these. The attribute swapping, we've already seen this, so I won't go over that. One thing to note is that you cannot replace or choose vitality or the plus all attribute affixes. So it's just the standard stacking ones, strength, int, dex, so on, attunement. So rerolling uniques, we've already seen this, so I won't go into that. We have turtles, which is pretty cool. The rerolling, the reforging, we've already seen this. Crafting materials, we've seen these, so yeah, just gonna breeze through that. Boss ward, this has already been talked about, but we have a little bit more info here. So most notable bosses such as Aberoth, Harbinger, Shade of Oribris, and Timeline bosses keep their boss ward. However, all the other enemies, so those annoying ones that you're fighting in Neko and they're just really tanky, those don't have boss ward anymore, so that is good. I believe in some of the talks they've mentioned that there are still going to be campaign bosses, like some of the main ones will still have boss ward, so keep that in mind. I'm hoping that this compensated by increasing their health thing doesn't mean that some of those really tanky enemies are still really tanky. Hoping that's going to change here. So yeah, we'll see. We have some talking about the rebalancing. So this is just saying ward and health are being rebalanced, some stuff around passives. Ward, so the ward formula went from 4% per int down to 2%. I already made a video on that. They talk about here the ward formula. That doesn't mean that you're getting half as much ward. So definitely check out that video called Ward NERFS or something like that, if you haven't seen that. And what they're saying here is that they're moving a lot of that power towards some of the other things. So you're still going to get some of that ward retention back. You can see these small idols are having ward per second and ward retention. This is actually extremely powerful on a small idle. That's a lot of power in just a tiny little bit of your idle slots. We have ward retention, so there's new affixes here. Ward per second and ward decay threshold. You can see the T7 goes up to 230 ward decay on a ring. That's actually pretty significant, although I'm a little bit skeptical that people would be prioritizing these as an exalted affix. There's a lot more high priority affixes on the ring. I guess depending on what kind of build you're going for, these are probably going to be mostly like T5 and stuff that you may want to prioritize for that. But yeah, a lot of cool stuff. More ward per second. So you can see here some T7s. These values are pretty significant. 66 ward per second is not bad. It's definitely not enough with just 1 or 2 of these to complete your build. And I also think these are not going to be priority for something like the Catalyst. You have spell crit chance, you have crit multi, you have a lot of really high priority affixes in these items already. And something like ward per second, I don't know if it's going to be able to compete, but it probably will be something that you at least want on the item, maybe as a non-exalted if you are stacking ward. Next we have health and endurance. So there's also going to be numeric buffs to health regen. So that's good. It's about 15% across the board. Numeric buffs to added health. So that's also good. We're getting a new affix here. So health plus health regen. This is going to be potentially interesting for some of the health regen builds that scale that. I know there's a few of them right now, and some also converted into doing some other fun stuff. So we'll see where that leads us. And we have increases to health regen. So I know some of the Sentinel builds are probably going to be pretty happy about that. I think there might be some Primalist builds that would be happy about this too. Then we also have buffs to potions, so that's good. And endurance threshold. So this is an interesting one. They are removing endurance threshold for all items except belts. This is kind of an indirect buff to just items in general, because that's one less affix that's going to be usually wasted. For most people, they don't want endurance threshold, so now you have it on the belt. This goes up to 200, so it's possible maybe somebody might want this for some specific scenario, like a build that doesn't have a lot of health and just needs a bit of threshold. Or if you're scaling threshold for something, maybe. I don't know though. Then we have global damage over time. So this we've already talked about, but they are nerfing the DOT enemies do by 15% across the board, as well as cutting the corruption scaling in half. And this will immediately become relevant. You don't need to be in high corruption for this to matter. So even if you first step foot into empowered monos and you have the baseline amount of more damage from 100 corruption, you're already going to be seeing benefit from this, and it will just continue to be more significant as you go higher in corruption. So this is a pretty big deal. Next, we have skill balance changes. So I'm sure there's going to be significantly more than what we're seeing here. This is just a tiny fraction of what's going to be in the patch. But just to kick it off, we have nerfs to static orb. This is not a surprise to probably anybody. We have nerfs to sacrifice with the high minion counts. We have Falcon builds. So Falcon has been also S tier for quite a while. This is not really a surprise. And we have the Ballista build, also makes sense. We have some pretty significant buffs here to Black Hole. I don't know if this is going to be enough alone to make it good. I know some people are already using Black Hole for some specific things. Maybe this comes into play. I guess we'll have to see. Then you have numeric buffs across the board for a bunch of different skills. I just want to highlight this one here. This is a big quality of life increase for movement skills. So normally the game calculates whether or not you can do a movement based on as if you were to path to it. Them doubling that max distance for the pathing means that overall movement skills should just feel a lot smoother when you're trying to take like those little minor shortcuts through corners and whatever. Another one that's really nice, I think, is Eye of Reen. So this now works with stuff like Warpath. Previously, I believe you just get one stack when you first start channeling Warpath, and then it just stops working because it's no longer direct or something like that. But yeah, this should be really nice to be able to use that again. Boulder's Wrath, this is a build I did a long time ago. I had a lot of fun with doing the big slams with the bear. Now you're basically doubling the amount of earthquakes that you can do. That's actually pretty huge. This could be a lot of fun. We have buffs to Eye of Storms, we have Stormbreaker, and then we have a little bit of information on some new uniques. The first one here is a Catalyst that's giving you a minion from the era that you're in. So that's pretty cool. And we have the ability to crit with potions now with this new potion belt unique. So the potions can crit and they scale with your crit multi. We don't know the ranges here, but I guess there is already some potential for this to be decent if you have some amount of potion scaling. It's also on a pretty good base. This is not bad. And yeah, you have ward gained on potion. I'm just thinking here, if you had like 400 crit multi or something like that, maybe this value could go even higher. I don't know. You're potentially getting like 400 or 500 ward per potion. If you're doing that every couple seconds, that's kind of a significant amount of ward potentially, especially if you have like a panic button to just stack up your ward really quick. Then we have the Brewmaster's Buckle. So there's a little secret here. I'm guessing that the secret would be that it turns all of the potions that drop into beers. You get up to 14 vitality. That is a huge amount of vitality. That's almost equivalent to a max roll T7 in one of these affixes, so that's pretty big. 10% max health gained as endurance, that's a lot, but it is tied to potion use, so if you just get smacked one shot, this probably wouldn't be up. Anyway, that's pretty much all we have for today. As always, I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.